Thinking of carpentry, it is simply a carpenter's way, leaving the carpenter with nowhere to go. However, even if the rear axle half shaft was torn, after a series of magical operations, the rear half shaft can be used normally in the rear axle. Today, we will explore it. How does the shaft use the damaged hair structure? For such a severely torn shaft, the entire fracture surface must be cut off and removed. This will lose most of the length, but it can be made up for with the same shaft feel later. After deciding on the splicing plan for the shaft sense, Fu's first task was to cut off the flange end section to provide better splicing conditions for the follow-up. The center of the concentric and coaxial blue end shaft rod that can be spliced later must be drilled with a drill to drill the necessary hole position. This is the key position that carries the concentric and coaxial position so that the subsequent splicing can be placed on the axis through the expansion of the large twist drill. The processing of the flange end is not over when the hole is drilled. To achieve the anchor structure at the interface, the square steel fixed by the tool holder must be welded to the vacated claw plate position on the back of the flange. To be able to fix a washer knife and realize the purpose of using the lathe as a bed washer, the master must wash out a groove horizontally and rivet it with the carpenter to engage the toggle bar. After the depth of the groove meets the splicing requirements, the blue plate is processed. It has become a dead rivet structure. For this toggle end of the foil that is also torn, the cross-sectional span is not that large. If you want to achieve the best splicing effect, you can only sacrifice the length of the toggle bar. Achievement requires the hard condition of a flat surface. Even though their repair shop does not have a cutting groove cutter, the master Luo Wen is very skilled in operating the knife. The process is smooth without any sloppiness. Since the end face after cutting is a tapered surface, the master still needs to simply modify it. After the plane is correct, use a marker to draw a tapered line on the side of the elbow. The equipment uses V-shaped steps for splicing. Originally, the owner wanted to get married after repairing the car, but he had no choice but to put it into his pocket and not pay. If you are in front of the domestic screen and need turnover, you can try the Xinjie in Douyin wallet. Open the Douyin Baoxinjie activation limit and apply for the highest amount according to the requirements. The quota of 200,000 will be paid when the funds are in place. The V-shaped interface will be cut according to the angle. At this time, the master selected a rusty Yuan gang. As an extension of the missing part of the shaft, it can make up for the previously cut length. It can be riveted and spliced through the groove without interfering with the length of the half shaft. The aperture of the flange end shaft core is fixed. Fu needs to measure the data with the boss. Comparing to achieve seamless connection between holes is also because the diameter of the selected round bars is relatively large, so it is necessary to use the diameter of the shaft as the benchmark for cutting. However, the processing of these round bars seems to be very simple and important. It is to cater for the follow-up. After careful modification with the Luo Wen knife, in order for the round steel to form a lead box with the hook groove, Fu needs to perform a transverse cutting process according to the existing width of the hook groove. In this way, the final damaged hair connection can be achieved by cutting the reserved plane. The thickness determines whether the butt handle can fit perfectly with the hook groove. The other side of the butt handle is also engraved and is a concave vertical opening cut by a shaft at the end of the foil. The reserved tail end of Yuanda needs to be cut so that the tail can be changed into a conical surface with the same angle so that the interface can be embedded and docked. Then, it can be docked with the concave embedded jade group of the shaft without deviation from the axis. Once it is down, it can be jointed with the French basket plate. The level 8 front bow is very sensitive to data, so when it is jointed, it needs a hammer to hit hard without holes, and there will be hollow bones inside. In order to check the concentricity of the 3-stage splicing, the master must simply splice the shaft through the pressure of the ejector pin and check the master's rotation test. All the remaining splicing gaps need to be filled up to a certain level by welding rod surfacing. The gap is completely covered, but welding cannot avoid the problem of welding bar height. The raised part needs to be cut with reference to the shaft diameter next to it. Use a turning tool to restore the original shaft diameter of the axle shaft and improve the overall aesthetics. What do you think of Dad and Master's craftsmanship?